Law and Advisory, one of the principal sponsors here, provides a whole range of legal and corporate advisory services to what I think he would describe as high-vis customers, predominantly.
High-vis and human capital.
High-vis and human capital, there you go. And lives in the heartland of Sydney, which means Western Sydney, Parramatta.
That's right.
Yeah.
The hood.
The hood,
Yep.
in the hood. That is basically like ground zero for a lot of search fund-like acquirable businesses, right? So great to have that experience in the market and also here on stage. Unfortunately, Jason Andrew, who a few of you might know, couldn't make it. He's the accounting side of the equation in this little trio that we've pulled together.
Recently a forky, if anyone...
Recently a forky. Who knows what a forky is? No? Forky?
One who is involved in forklifts.
Right, so if you either own a forklift company or drive a forklift, you can be referred to as a forky. It's got nothing to do with eating food or being a foodie. Right. So about 6 months ago, I guess, we tried this, 9 months ago. What I was hearing in the market a lot is, and I was having a discussion with the other Pete, well, the main Pete, just earlier around, when people first hear about this, they're like, yeah, but are there really enough businesses to buy? How hard is it to find them? How do you build your pipeline? All that sort of stuff. So almost to deliberately show how easy it is by belligerently searching in a very unsophisticated way, the three of us decided that we would experiment with this little mini podcast thing that we pulled together that we called EtA Down Under. Do you want to bring up our slide so we can show you our wonderful logo that we designed in 5 seconds? But what we decided was, and I think at some point I was having coffee with a potential searcher, and they were saying, yeah, but really, am I going to find something? And I said, well, let's find something right now. And I pulled up my phone, pulled up whatever broker I could find, added a few filters, and I said, do you want to leave Sydney? Do you want to stay in the basin? Whatever, added some filters, found 5 targets and said, okay, well, let's just buy this one then. And pulled up the listing. It was, doing 1.3 of earnings and had blah, blah, blah. And I said, we could probably buy that. And I was kind of being facetious, right? Because as we've heard today, there's a lot of work that goes into getting from that point to the end game, right? So this is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but there's a little bit that is true, because what I think we're trying to demonstrate is the fact that you can actually just get started. And even I was having a discussion with Kylie earlier, where you're actually really enjoying the fact that there's quite a lot to look at, right? And actually the challenge is, how do you not get distracted with an appetite for all of the things and the possibilities that are out there? As I said earlier, the demographic and the recent study done by the Australian Business Growth Fund found that it's not quite in our deal set, but for businesses with employees between, I think they went, do you remember that study, 20 to 100 or 20 to 2 to 100 of million of revenue, which is not exactly the same metric we use, but close enough. They concluded that of those, and if you extract subsidiaries of global companies and blah, 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 you end up with 166,000 businesses of that type in Australia at the moment. And then you grab a whole bunch of other statistics that I'm going to completely butcher right now that Jake will probably correct me on, but effectively, of those 166,000, more than 2/3 are owned by people of retirement age. And of that subset, then there's probably, 80% of them that don't have a succession plan or something. And 10% of those are listed for sale, and 80% of those, if asked, would sell, right? So regardless of how you run those numbers through the waterfall, there's, in Australia, and if you add New Zealand to the mix, another 25%, 50 to 80,000 businesses like that need to change hands with earnings of 1 to 4 in the next 5 to 10 years. So in terms of that side of the equation, there's lots. Anyway, let's jump into this next little activity that will take us through to the end of the day just for a bit of fun. Now, because we have an extra seat and we're missing our compadre in Jason, we're going to need some volunteers along the way, right? So work with me, all right, as we go through this process.
Strap yourself in.
Right, so what we're going to do is, I think if this clicker works, I've selected a handful of listings from each of 3 New Zealand brokers. I'm going to show the listings from each broker at a time. And then if one of these listings takes your fancy, put your hand up and you can join us here and you can help us quickly diligence the listing as we go live and work out how much you're going to pay, what the structure is going to be, and what the issues might be that we find with this business.
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
So on our first ever episode, we looked at a pallet company. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So last week, I spoke to a couple of guys that are now diligencing that entity off referencing. They said, well, we saw it on the podcast recently. Do you know if it's still available? I said, oh, actually, yeah, I do know it's available. And they reached out, and now they're in pre-DD for that asset. So maybe there's one here that is sufficiently attractive that someone might want to have a dip at.
Do we get a lead fee for that? Is it like some kind of...
I certainly do.
I think the idea was... Anyway.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we all do.
He's going to take me to dinner at some point. So that was a great... talk about boring businesses. So these guys make pallets. We were talking about forkies before. These guys make the pallets that forklifts lift. Excellent business, given I've got another business that spends a lot of money on those pallets. So if I go this way... Okay, so who have we got first? New Zealand business brokers. So what you'll see down here is this is the lovely broker that's put this up. This is the brokerage that's doing it, and we've got a handful of these. I'm going to put these up. James is already excited because there's a piece of yellow kit in the picture. Anything that's painted yellow and digs holes, he loves. So I'm going to relatively quickly go through a handful of New Zealand business brokers' listings. If anyone sees something they like, be bold, put your hand up and come and join us. So this one... Civils, right? Dig holes in Auckland. What is it? 700 grand. It says profit to working owner. I'm not going to get into the detail. $1.5 million. There's a lot to talk about there. Another one here, Chem Dry cleaning business. A bit smaller. Oh, here we go. Solar business, renewables. What about the energy transition? You might be up for that. What do you reckon? And then pergola design and installation. I've got a mate that owns one of those. Link. Okay, so what have we got? Pergolas, solar, cleaning, digging holes. Come on. Who's going to be first up in the chair? Really? We've got a whole group of people here that love looking at businesses to buy. And all we need is someone to sit there. And probably you can end up sitting there and James will do most of the talking.
That's a guarantee.
Please. Who's going to help us out? Yeah, there we go. Stain. Come on. Oh, you want this one as well? Woo. Go on, round of applause. Yes. Stain. And you want to do the civils? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Take a seat. Excellent. So, first of all, quick intro.
Stan, I'm one of the searchers with SME Ventures. I'm 3 months into my search. If I can walk away with a business here.
Here we go. You might, yeah. Everyone gets a business. You get a business. You get a business. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, excellent. This is good. You've done a bit of this already in the last 3 months, right? You've looked at listings. You've had a quick crack at what might stand out. So anyway, you've got it down here as well. You can read. Just to get us rolling. Particularly given it's yellow. Do you want to take us away? What are you seeing so far in this listing? And by the way, the challenge was with the podcast that we did, we had 15 minutes per listing. You weren't allowed to do any research in advance, and you only had the information available on the listing that you could then, and then you had to decide your bid, your structure, and what issues we'd look at in DD. So, James, what are you seeing right now from this business?
Well, some mismatch. So modern fleet and the fleet value of 650 means you're not going to get either much fleet or you've got smaller machines. So there's probably a mismatch there you need to understand. I don't like that they talk about profit to working owner because it's just annoying. So I don't like that. There's a lot of words there that don't really mean anything, but I'm not a fan. Actually, I like diggers, but I'm not a fan of this business.
What's turning you off? Is it because of the fact that they've gone profit to working owner and actually they should have given you like a standalone?
Yeah, they should have given us an EBIT because there's going to be a CapEx to grow something like this. And then depending on, like, it doesn't talk about, is it project-based, what type of civil, is it just simply, so I don't know how many of you know civil, but civil's very big. So you can be working for Sydney Water and have 5-year contracts, or you can be working for, you know, your local excavation, digging a piering for a house, right?
Yeah.
So very, very broad. So I don't like that you don't get any insight to that, because I think that's a big selling point, which probably means it's smaller jobs with a bit of gear, but like 650, you might have like max 10 pieces of gear. So that's not a lot to get out, including trucks. You're probably looking at 5 actually. Yeah, that's what I don't like.
So maybe for this one, we found a fencing business previously that we decided would be perfect for the general manager of the local fencing business that then steps out on his own. So potentially this is like the leading hand or supervisor at a local larger civils business that steps out, and this is his opportunity to have a crack. Yeah,
I think the only thing is probably priced all right. Like 1.5 on 659. The delta means you probably, like if you put a price like that on that, you're definitely coming down.
Yeah.
But I think you're close enough to go, I could probably get that at a relatively okay multiple, so long as like the tailwinds are okay, then I think that works for a GM.
Yeah. What do you see, Stan? Give us your thoughts.
I was mainly confused initially on is it labor hire or is it equipment hire? Like, what role do they play in the construction? Like it could be that if they're tied to a few large developers, that they don't have to work very hard to get their work. And then we'd obviously love to understand those forward confirmed work. Is it only project? Is it the client base that just keeps on developing and they're going to win the work? That would be my key questions.
Yeah. You didn't even touch on dry and wet.
I mean,
we could go down that rabbit hole, right?
This will be wet because of working owner. So for those who care about the hire industry, which is probably not many of you, you have wet hire. So that is operator plus machine on site. Typically significantly higher margins for that because it's usually specialty gear. And obviously dry hire is like Kennards, just ship it out. And you've got more capex to grow in dry than you necessarily have in wet. Yeah. This will be wet.
Just before we jump to valuation, any questions or comments from the room? Is there anyone that now, having actually thought about it, thinks they really like this business? No? Really? No one's excited? No? No one's... Any other comments on, before we get to the next bit, if you were in a position where this was the only business on the table and you had to buy it, what's the biggest issue that you would look to diligence to try and underwrite your offer? Yep, capex. Yep.
Yeah, and then the customers, so the pipeline, they said up to the end of July 2025, and beyond. We need clarity with a hard close on projects.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting how often they renew that, because it's going to take to July at least to get any kind of deal in place. So that's gone by the time you've actually closed the deal. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Nice. Nice. Good risk. Yes? Yeah, probably. Yeah, and his 12-year-old daughter driving the truck? Yep, probably. Yeah, it's a relatively small business. Cool, all right, so how much are we offering? We're forced to put in an offer. How much do you offer and what's the structure? Stan, you can go first.
I think that in the seller's mindset, like they obviously value that PP, that P&E, so the 650, and then you're not left with too much of a multiple even there, right? So I think, probably come out a bit lower, below asking, maybe 2 times the profit or something like that.
Yep. James?
I'm just trying to do some quick maths. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm taking... I need to understand, is the owner working as an operator of a machinery or working as say, doing business development? Assuming that it's BD, let's take 159 off for just general maths. That's going to be a 500 in profit. Your 650 in gear is the broker will always use fair market value. So take 70% of that, which is say liquidated value, and then take 70% of that, which is financeable value. So what's that? 65.7, I don't know, 400. So I'm probably offering 1 times on completion and then subject to forward work, maybe like 300, 200 over the next 2 years.
Yeah. Good. Yes. Well, that's why it's gone profit to working owner, right? Like, who knows what they're taking out after that. I mean, cash flow would be interesting to look at in this one as well. Cool. Excellent. All right, well...
Yeah, so basically, so call it $1 million, right? Yeah. So 500 being adjusted, and then...
Yeah. I reckon Stain gets through the first round of offers and then falls over when he does DD, and then James come in, pick it up for a song after the other guy feels like he's been distracted by the diligence, hasn't refilled his pipeline, has no work. So...
I'd be a buyer too at that, I reckon.
Yeah. That's true, actually. You need Stain to operate it, right? So he could come in and then you could offer him a deal. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much, Stain. Good. All right. So you can see it's easy, right? So now you're all willing to volunteer and come and sit in the seat. Okay. Let's have a look at the next ones. Coming to you from Link. Oh, yeah, I remember this one. Okay.
Still for sale.
Yeah. Okay. So, innovation, integrity. I'm trying to work out what it is. It looks like it's got some stock image of a lab. Does anyone know what this does? I can't even tell what it does. Oh, right, okay. Of course it is. I should have known that. Right, okay, well, there's that one. There's this one. This one's a bit more straightforward. So, business supplies, B2B. Interestingly, when I see business supplies B2B, I'm thinking about things like pens and blah, 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 and it's got a picture of colour swatches and paintbrushes. So, okay, there's that one. Keep it in mind. Engineering, machining, it's on a growth trajectory. That's always good to know. Okay, so engineering, it's got a good reputation and they make some sort of gold cogs. But it's in Auckland, so maybe they like gold cogs up there. Okay, so that's that one. Telco. Oh, this is a bit bigger. So something in the telco, we can get into the detail later, and then we're on to ABC. So, right, so telcos, engineering, machining, B2B, and something that's ISO certified. Sorry, Russell. I just need a little bit more information in the headline because I'm a headline reader. Industrial adhesives. Oh, even better. Okay, well, I don't mind that. Sticky stuff. Actually, you might be into this. They're talking about sticking stuff. That's Who wants to come and sit in the chair? Come on. Who's going to do it? Yes. Excellent. Yeah, round of applause.
Are we doing this one?
No, he's got to choose.
Oh,
which
okay,
one
good.
You
Yeah, don't choose this one.
You got to choose.
The telco one.
Telco.
Yes.
Oh, he's gone telco.
Okay.
He's gone telco.
Look at those words. Far out.
Yeah, I know, lots of words. We'll read through those in a sec. Quick intro.
I'm Dan Quigley, based in Auckland. I'm self-funded searcher. I've been looking for maybe the last 12 months or so.
You just found it.
This is the one.
Now he's going to move to Christchurch and buy a telco business. All right, so let's just have a quick skim through this. Yell out if you see anything that's notable, because everyone should read it at the same time. So profit 1.3, I don't know what kind of profit that is. Sales of 2.8, so that must be gross profit. It's a thriving business. Established 1982. Wow, so it's old. Head office in Christchurch, office in Auckland.
Two-way radio, you see that? Bespoke two-way radio. Diverse market reach, emergency, transport, logistics, primary industry sectors.
Wow, what would you call that? Telecommunications solutions. I'm thinking it's like a towers business. Yeah. So quick side note on listings. It's really, really interesting, and I'm sure all of you have done the same thing when you've gone to skim through listings. There's so many really quick, simple things that you could do to listings to make them cut through like 1,000 times better. Like, for some reason, they get categorized as telco, and then because they're telco, they get given a generic telco image, and then immediately, like, you look at this marketing image and you're thinking that it's, like, I'd be putting exactly what it is in the picture and exactly what it is in the heading. But, okay, so what do we reckon it is? It's two-way radios, and given the high margin, they're probably making those.
I think they're making maybe like the transponders or something, like the stuff that goes on the top of buildings, or installing something like that.
Oh, like repeaters.
Offering bespoke two-way radio telecommunications solutions with a diverse market reach, emergency services.
I think they have two-way radio businesses which offer like channels. So like you can have like for emergency services, you can have like a private sort of channel that you can communicate through. Yeah. So maybe they're offering like the hardware along with access to the channel. And I think maybe some of them are, I can't remember what it's called, but they're, I don't know, almost like regulated or I don't know. Something like that. But
anyone else in the room have any insights into exactly? Yep, Luke. Yeah. Yep.
Motorola or...
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So it's almost like they might be doing things like selling those repeaters to various locations around, for example, Christchurch, and then emergency services are using those repeaters to get their network running. Yeah. Yep. 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 What do you reckon, Dan? What's your thinking so far? I mean, we are actually struggling with this listing to even work out what this business does. But
yeah, I think I like the fact that, as you touched on, that it seems to have decent margins. It seems to be, I mean, if emergency services and whatnot are using it, then I guess it's relatively important. So probably a, almost non-discretionary type item or service. It's hard to see if there's... I'm assuming that you're probably losing a bit when the owner goes. Yeah. I think I saw something around like management flexibility, which is probably means there's no management, a chance to put your own management in.
You've got a highly flexible management team, which means they're never there.
Yeah. And location flexibility as well.
Yeah.
Office and negotiation.
No office, no management. Both are flexible. Yeah.
They talk about dealers. Anyway, this is one of those where you just like pick up the phone and be like, David, what does this actually do?
Yeah. And then he probably in the first sentence he just tells you.
Yeah.
And then he could have put that in the listing.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that stands out for me is, like we were talking earlier in the day, someone mentioned something about growth, and growth actually isn't something that you want to index for because the stability and it's more opportunity for growth. Like that kind of high profit margin actually makes me concerned when I see that. Like, I know it sounds funny. You should be thinking, isn't it awesome how it's got... But in this kind of sector with this kind of product, it probably just means they're flying under the radar, and as soon as you try and scale it, you're actually going to sacrifice significant margin to get there.
I reckon there's a bit of clickbait in that.
Yeah.
Because relative to price...
the asterisks?
But also the price. So if you're thinking, 1.3, wow, look at this massive margin, but then you look at actually...
And he's only asking 2 times.
Yeah, when you actually get back to what is it from a future maintainable point of view, it's like, it's $1 million. Yeah. I think it's a little bit of clickbait. Yeah. It worked, obviously.
Yeah, well, we clicked on it.
If someone just wants to buy a lifestyle cash flow business,
yeah, it could work. Yep. Yeah. We could call David live, and we could just put him on FaceTime and just ask him. or 5G. Yeah. Yeah. So the like one of the problems that I have often when I'm speaking to searchers. So you know how they always say, oh, like you get kind of some feedback loops from your investor group, like, and they bring you deals and they say, oh, should I think about this one? What should I do? I'm usually the one on the cap table that says, yeah, just go for it. Like you'll work it out, right? And so there's always this little part of me that thinks there must be some way that you could buy this and make it work. And if you got the price right and the structure right, it feels to me like what you'd find inside this is one small little part of what they're doing that actually you could grow, and you'd probably take it to some other vertical other than what they're doing right now. Like particularly if you're based predominantly in Christchurch, it's probably going to move into some kind of ag tech space. So that's what I'd be doing with it anyway.
I think this is one of those that you look at and you could either really easily gloss past it, or you kind of go, oh, I don't know what this is, so I'll ask. And I think if you ask David, I actually think the business under it could be quite interesting. It's just this is entirely unhelpful to sort of work out what are you actually buying. Yeah. And there's a couple of things there that's like, oh, well, if it's in demand, maybe you just have someone who's been doing this for, 43 years, who's just like, I've had enough, you know? And you're like, well, actually, maybe it is a significantly bigger business than you think, or the potential's there. But like you got to understand what they actually do, and that I can't. So,
final comments, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, pretty hard to make an informed decision based on the information provided. But you know what? We're here for a good time, not a long time. So we'll give it a crack.
Have it a crack.
Will you invest?
So I'll tell you what. I'll give you some homework.
Can he call? Can he call now?
Yeah, you could actually just go out the back while we do the next one and call up David and ask what it actually does.
Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Sure, do that. Okay. Yeah, let's do this live. Okay. All right, we'll go on to the next listing.
I think I know what the difference is. The other thing that you need to ask, given the age of it, is what's its profitability history been?
Yep.
Because I think this was a business that I looked at when I came back to New Zealand 8 or 9 years ago.
Ah.
And I think it's a legacy product. It's got a really profitable niche. But I suspect it's shrinking. So you'd want to understand what we think it's going to do next year and the year after.
Nice.
Daniel.
Do you reckon, Dan, you could just call David and ask him what exactly this business does?
Yeah.
Cool. Excellent.
Yeah, now. Outside.
Yeah. And then we'll do the listing.
I'll come back at the end.
And then you'll come back. And everyone will cheer. This is going to be awesome.
I hope David answers.
Oh, wait, what have you done? Oh, you found it? Oh, sweet. So they use the same. So what do they do? Quick.
Solutions provider. Communication equipment specialists. So radio services, satellite towers. Should I say what it is?
Yeah, totally. So James. All right. So James does this all the time. So usually when we do this podcast, he's on the
all the time.
Google.
If I wasn't up here, I'd be on the phone for sure. Yeah. That's too niche. You can't. That's too easy. No CA required. Go for your life. Not legal advice.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Like there's something there, right?
They also do cell tower services.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. That's what I was saying before is like you'll find one thing in there that actually you can do something with, and the rest of it will just be science projects.
Can we just all agree that Daniel should have first crack at this?
Yeah, no one else is allowed to have a go at it.
I think it's only fair
he's got
that Daniel gets first crack at this. So
Dan's homework is what he's going to do is he's going to call David. You don't have to do it now because we found it, but actually do a teaser for this group on that business and see if we can raise capital to go and buy that. And then you have to move to Christchurch, but you can visit all these great people from Christchurch, so it's fine.
I think it says you can do it from Auckland. It's got an Auckland as well.
Oh, yeah, you could grow the Auckland office. Yeah. Cool. Excellent. Thank you. All right. On to the final. Yeah, this is good timing. Okay, on to the final one. So we're going to go on to ABC. So where's our ABC friends? Here we go. Excellent. Thanks, Ben. Yeah. Yeah. So it's okay to rubbish the link listing, I think. Do we have any link in the room? Oh, there we do. We do have some link in the room.
Do you know David?
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Oh, so you can tell him. Can you tell him to be more prescriptive in what it actually?
The electrical fixture
You're telling. We'll provide the feedback. All right. Okay. Yeah. No. We'll be fair and reasonable with every broker, including the brokers that are in the room. Okay. All right. So, and to be honest, I did get sent an email just yesterday with a different set of listings, so I don't know if I've got. Anyway, let's see. So we've got to pick. So, chemical manufacturing. Oh, it's got your favourite, James, plus stock. We can talk about working capital in a second. So chemical manufacturing, civil contracting. There you go. Portable spraying. Nice. Is that the end? Yeah. So we've got these. I think that's these three. Yep. Okay. So chemical manufacturing. Are all these still available as far as you know? Yeah, I know they're not. They're not. You might not know. There's so many listings on there you probably don't know.
The first one's under offer. I spoke to them recently.
Oh, okay. Oh, we should have got you up for this one. Okay, so someone in the room. Yeah? Oh, come on then. Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, you would like the spraying business, wouldn't you? Here we go. It's got profit to working owner,
We were talking about,
but it doesn't have stock of value.
We were talking about contract harvesting before. Yep. This is analogous to that, so I'm quite content.
It doesn't have a combine harvester, but it's got a sprayer. Yeah, so, quick intro, please.
Oh, hi, I'm Kylie with SME Ventures, searching 3 months in.
And to provide some context to why you like this, can you give us a little bit of your background? Probably the longer background rather than like the more historic background rather than the recent background.
Yep. I grew up on a farm way out west of Sydney, tiny place, 8,000 people. Sheep farm, so I understand a little bit here. It's a long way away, a long time ago, but let's take a look.
Where?
Cowra.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, New South Wales, way out west.
There's a good distillery there in Cowra.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're not buying distilleries.
No.
Now we're looking at spraying businesses.
There's heaps of distilleries for sale.
There are. You could do a roll-up of that, but that's a different discussion. Right. Okay, so now we're going to get into this one, Kylie. They're after 1.5. They reckon it's 490 profit to working owner. It's got a good picture. That might even be a real picture. Ashburton. Where's that for the locals in the room? South of Christchurch. Okay.
Mid-Canterbury.
Mid-Canterbury. Yep.
I just read it off there.
Okay, good. Yep. But between two rivers, whatever that means for the locals as well. Loyal client base, high quality modern equipment. So that, indicates probably low. Oh, geographic expansion. Turnkey. Love it. Turnkey, even though it's profit to working owner, which means that it's not completely turnkey because they need to leave. Anyway, Kylie, first thoughts.
So I love that they talk about precision. I'd want to know what that is. Is that specialty skills? Is it equipment? What is it about that makes it precision? I don't know what Canterbury is. Sorry, did we cover that?
So who's a local that will describe it better than I do? I'm just going to say it's where I rode the rail trail. But
Sounds hilly, am I right?
no, flat. Canterbury Plains.
Canterbury flat? Okay. Okay, so we don't need to do aerial there, or? Okay. Doesn't say the date, how long it's been around. So hard to know.
It says well established, but it is still relatively small. So dairy, sheep and beef. Which one of those would be biggest in? Cropping.
Yeah, it is interesting that they talk about the, mostly dairy, sheep and beef there, but cropping I would have thought would be the biggest opportunity. Alrighty. So you want to know if I like it or not, based on this?
I'd want to know whether or not you like it from the page you can see, and what are the key questions that come to mind for you that you'd want to be asking in your first round of questions with the lovely Mark Talbot?
Yeah. So First of all, I'd want to know how many people are in the business. How do you get the drivers? That's a massive problem. Is there any robotic play? Like, have they invested in that? Let's see. I'd want to know, length of time. I mean, it's a pretty small amount of money. Some of these big farms have their own equipment. So what's the competition in terms of the substitute that they use? These big pieces of equipment trade for millions of dollars now. So it might be like, how long have they been in play? What's the leasing on them? What are the rates? I want to know all of those type of things. I don't think it says, we don't know whether they're owned or leased. Presume they're owned, do you think?
Is it possible for a business of this size that is literally the truck?
Possibly,
and that's the only truck, and it's driven by that owner?
Mm-hmm. Quite possibly.
So when it says turnkey, it literally means...
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. The short answer is like $490. Like if you're in a cab, you could be punching out.
They should have put the owner like in the car, like.
I reckon there's probably a couple of units.
We looked at a similar business in Marlborough that they were doing about 690K profit per machine. That was in viticulture. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was one careful answer.
Yeah, right.
To show the proof of the search, I actually looked at a business like this during my search up in Taranaki, and they were doing like 4 million EBIT, something in that space. And the two things that were like that I moved on from it. One was the seasonality exposure to whatever you're spraying or servicing, but then the other bit was like they make all of their money in like a 2-month period and then make nothing for the rest of the year, and the cash flow cycle is crazy. So if you have a bad year, you carry that.
You just lose a whole year.
The other one here is geography. For those of us that know this country, I live in South Harlem, and your first red flag or green flag in these things is, if you're in South Harlem, everyone struggles to even think about scaling. There's advantage. But the red flag being, this is one guy with a bunch of his mates, and he goes and does their thing. So as soon as you get in there, if they don't like you, you lose your confidence.
Yeah. The relationship. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I don't like this one. I promise.
It looked good at the beginning.
No, this is the problem with search. You fall in love with stuff because of like your own biases. But I promise my investors, Pete, for recurring revenue. I don't think this has it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that directly.
I reckon there's a contrarian view to that.
Okay.
And the view is,
Bring it.
if
Even
your
us.
customers here are corporate farms, right, who are conscious of the economics of farming, so CapEx light, they want to be like everyone here, no CapEx, then I think you could potentially turn what looks like project-based into recurring revenue. I think there is, but that's a big bow to draw. I like this business. I think it's got some, analogous to sort of wet hire in it, but I think the cyclicality of it, if you could look at your crop cycle and the ag and work out throughout the seasonality where actually you could plug some holes through a different or alternate or analogous service offering, then I think you could potentially do it. But I think the key person risk is big. So if you can't get along with those farmers, then, and if they're individual family farms, I think you've got a problem there.
I like it. I like your thinking. I actually think the future is biological solutions to combat chemicals. So that's the other reason I'd rule it out, which is like the future is not good for chemical sort of sprays.
Yeah, like mixed farming, like to use the organics to try and combat those problems rather than...
And insects.
Yep.
And
insects.
the growth is a problem for search in terms of the CapEx requirement. Like to go and load up for a new piece of gear, it's hundreds of thousands. So there's a challenge there.
So a little side note here. Sorry, Chris, just 1 second. Little side note. At the break, James revealed to me his 2025 or 2026?
2025.
2025 main objective was to get his heavy vehicle license so he could drive a road train. So if he likes this, it's just because he thinks he can
just 'cause I
actually
wanna
get
sit in the
cab. So you need to be careful of that. Bias has a big...
I do think the kind of contract harvesting businesses should be looked at more by people in this room. I think there's recurring revenue in them.
Well, there was a searcher last year who was looking at a business that made the trailers that follow alongside the harvester.
Chasers.
Yep, that's what they. That's it. See, I'm. Yeah. Anyway, Chris.
I'll do it for free.
Which would be good for him. Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. Any last parting comments?
I reckon that's priced on equipment.
Yeah.
Equipment plus profit.
Nah, I've already moved on.
Already moved on. Like you said, you've got to kill these deals quickly so you can get on to the next one. Excellent. Thank you very much, Kylie. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Like that's all in a little bit of fun and jest, but for me it serves two purposes. So one purpose it serves is to try and demonstrate, mostly to the entrepreneurs out there, that you should just start getting traction, just start looking at things and working out what question you're going to ask. And it doesn't matter if you're looking at some tiny business that has 490K profit to working owner. All the questions are actually the same. Like if this said like 5 million of earnings or 4 million of earnings, you're asking the same thing. Like what's the key person risk? What's the relationship with the customer? What's the regional expansion opportunity? Does this piece of kit match the opportunity for the kind of growth that it's going to have? Like what's the CapEx requirement? Like all the actual fundamental questions that you're testing and you're building the muscle around are exactly the same. And so part of the reason why we do this is to kind of show how you can start to kind of use that muscle really quickly and early in the process, so then you can take some of those learnings and some of that lens to the businesses that you're actually going to look at. So that's why we do it. We also do it just because it's fun kind of looking at these things and having a bit of a laugh along the way. So thank you very much for humouring us in that process. Thanks for being involved and yelling out your contributions. Really appreciate it. And thanks, James, for joining us up here on stage. Cool. Thank you. Okay, so just let me get my notes. You'll be pleased to know that we made it to the end. Congratulations, everyone, on making it to the end. The sun has started to go down. It's behind the hill. It's started to cool off, but we've got the fire on. We've got some drinks coming. We've got some music on the way. So we're just about to start the really, really enjoyable, relaxing part of the evening. But before we do so, I just wanted to say, yes, thank you to everyone for joining this event. As I was saying with a few people as we walked in from that photo, hopefully we'll look back at that photo in a few years to come and realise how small it was back then and how big it will be in a few years' time. And you were all here. You can say you're all here. So I'd just like to mention a few words of thanks. So obviously to our sponsors. So Frank Law and Advisory, James in the room, who you just met. Prime Financial and Altor, so Dave and Ben, and also Jace. Thank you very much for the support, both here and also into the forum that we're going to be having in Sydney later in the year. Current Future. So Cam, thank you very much for being here and for your support. Really appreciate it. Georgina, Legal Vision, thank you very much. Thanks very much, as I said before, to Paul and PCG for hosting the drinks last night. And in advance, we'll speak a bit more about this outside, but thanks to Derek and Criterion for hosting the evening dinner that we're going to move to after we have drinks outside. Thank you very much. Oh, quick round of applause for the sponsors. And like, I know every time you come to these kind of things, everyone says, oh, we couldn't do it without the sponsors. But like, literally, like, it's one of those things. This isn't my day job, so I don't really know how to run events, but I have a crack at it. And the difference that the sponsors make, it's a bit like a cap raise. So as you're going through the process, you're kind of relying on getting all these things to balance out. And the sponsors give you the confidence to lean into the idea that you want to try to create much earlier than you know who's going to come and how many people there are going to be and all that sort of stuff. And so yes, the money matters, but actually it's the confidence to lean into the event and actually make it what it can be and add the bells and whistles and make it something memorable. And so that's where the sponsors come into play. Yes, they provide the money, but actually it's the confidence. So I really appreciate it. It makes a big difference to putting something like this on. Speakers, Phil, thank you very much for starting the day. Big round of applause for Phil. That's a great way to start the day. Luke, Cam and Jace giving us that first run of what it looks like in that first year. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Georgina, Craig and Jake for telling us what it looks like to provide that support network. Rob, thanks very much. Not least of which you provide us a lot of insight from a lot of experience, but you travelled a long way to get here, so we really appreciate that. Chris, it's really great to have the insight from someone that's worked alongside a searcher, and that customer view is something that is so important post-acquisition to really get across quickly. So thanks for giving us that. And Dave and Chris and Ben for giving us that investor's view. That really helps a lot because there's people in the room that are trying to work out what should I look for, plus if I bring it, is it going to fit? Can I raise capital? And so hearing from the people that are providing that capital is really, really useful. Another round of applause to the speakers. All right, so NZ High Country, which is where we are, obviously providing the venue. Our videographer and photographer, thank you very much for coming along and capturing all of this. So one of the things that is great about the static camera, in addition to the roaming one, is that all of these sessions will be available on EtA Central after we get them edited and uploaded. And all of our past forum sessions are also on EtA Central. So what we're trying to build out is effectively a library of that content so that people can always refer back to it if there's things that they want to refer back to. AV, thank you very much for making the mics work and making the screens work. It was seamless, which it rarely is, which was great. And also to catering, because I think the food was great, right? So really, really good. And the coffee cart, I want to make one of those for myself because I think that would be very cool to take to the ski hill at one point. And last but not least, well, semi-last but not least, Mountain Club. Eve, thank you. Quick round of applause for Eve, who made... there's a whole as you would all know, there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens in the background, scurrying around, making sure that this thing continues to run as it should. And Eve has been here all day making sure that happens. But thanks also to Katie and Patty and Pete Ephes in the corner there, to Mountain Club for being our locals on the ground to make it easier for us to put this on, even though we're flying in from Sydney. One other person who's not in the room, who many of you know that I will thank even in her absence, is Helen. So Helen is my VA. She's also the event manager for all of the forums that we've put on in Sydney, and she did a lot of work on this, even though she couldn't make it here. So quick round of applause for Helen as well, even though she couldn't be here. Cool. So what's happening next? So next, outside we've got drinks, the fire is on and now is absolutely blazing, which is great to see. The sun's going down, sunset's going to be beautiful. I think the wind is holding off just enough. So we'll spend, I think it's a couple of hours here for drinks and canapes. And then what we'll do is buses will arrive and we'll head down into town for dinner hosted by Derek and his team at Criterion. So thank you very much again for participating in the day. Having this kind of momentum this early is really, really good. And I think based on how it's gone even so far, depending on what happens for the rest of the night, sounds like a good idea to do this again next year. So hopefully we'll be able to do it again with all of you guys and more. So thanks very much. Cheers.